if we can. racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going in the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up the
Oh my God! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing!
Lee to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside, and Cronkite goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried, there's contact though.
Slide left to the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe. Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashube, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
All right, and welcome back there, team, to our third evening instalment of our SimSpeed supported KartSport event. This evening, coming from the old Daytona, running Formula 3 this evening, and obviously proudly supported by Matt Brown and his family from Liquid Action, Tony Hurst, Cook Strait Crossing Fairings, and we'll talk more about that auction coming up soon, and obviously KartSport New Zealand's partner Skill Trap Group, Carter's Tyres. A little bit quiet up in the comm box this evening there, just myself, Tony Chambers, obviously, Simon Evans joining me, and we've got Travis Smith as well. Welcome, Si.
Yeah, hey, Tony. Yeah, good to be back, mate. Really enjoying these, our virtual club days that we're running here on a Tuesday night. Be interesting to see, over summer if we can even get into some weeknight kart sport racing, but I think that's going to be a bit further down the track. Really looking forward to seeing these yeah, and guys, F3 cars, obviously we've run.
That I've driven. Have you had a chance to had a run on the F3 this week at all?
I haven't. I did have a bit of a skin in the F3 a few weeks ago. There's a server up in Barcelona, so I had to go there. Really neat car, heaps of downforce, can brake super late. So yeah, we should see some demon braking moves. It also takes a while for that tyre to come in as well. So we jump on board here. First of the guys, so we've got a 20-minute qualifying tonight. A little bit longer than what we've done previously, but just with everyone getting back into the obviously normal routines of life. Everyone, we're just trying to give these guys a bit more opportunity to make sure they maximise the qualifying session as everyone's tied up, we're back at school or back to work. But got a bit of an off there, but everyone will start to see these times tumble towards the end of the session as the fuel load comes off and they start putting on their new tire.
Yeah, that's right. We'll certainly be keeping a keen eye on a few of the people that have been practicing a lot of the week, been speaking to a few drivers that have been doing a few sessions, so making the most of the information they've been given during the week as far as the venue and the vehicles. So big change, obviously, jumping out the MX-5, no aero, very low in horsepower, quite an easy car to drive, I suppose, inverted commas, probably not so easy for the likes of myself, but jumping into the F3, a much more aggressive car in the way it gives you feedback, no doubt, through the wheel. As you said, big braking grip, full slick, full aero vehicles, so it's going to be interesting to see how our season campaigners can adapt, and I'd say we're probably going to see the usual names at the top. As you said, 20-minute qualifying. First race is going to be 8 laps, obviously grid positions based off our qualifying, and then race 2, 16 laps, the all exciting full reverse grid. So we'll see how many of these Formula 3s can come back looking like a canoe back into pit lane side.
Yeah, probably is. Don't want to be doing too many tubs. So lucky we're in the virtual world. There's plenty of carbon fibre to wreck. A bit of a wreck there with Phil Winter and a few of the guys. But once again, been really popular. We've got a few different servers up again tonight. So even though we're watching the guys in this first qualifying server, we're more than likely going to see the other names pop up when we get to the race. So just like the other weeks, we take the fastest sort of 25 cars or so, and we make sure that we stream those to make sure we have some great racing. But we'll try to keep you updated with the other servers as well, in case you're watching and trying to follow someone. But really tricky section here of the circuit over on the really fast chicane. It really punishes you if you don't get quite the you carry the speed right the way down. So you'll see here all the guys running underneath the yellow, so the fastest, shortest distance. I prefer them to run to run on the actual embankment, but being all competitive, we want to make sure we're doing the shortest distance possible. But at the moment, we've got Sam Dunstall put in the first time, 1:43.4, and he's got a couple of tenths over Zane Hills. So we'll start to see these more times. But looking down through the list, we've got a few names who've been with us almost from the start. So a few names you will recognise there. Brent Snowden has been there from the start. Alex Pillay. Cameron Dance, obviously, with the big movers over the past few weeks. Joshua Parkinson, who always nice delivery surprise. So it'll be interesting to see what he's running tonight. Tony, is there anyone you're looking forward to seeing in action tonight? Obviously, we could only see who's, but last week we had some pretty good racing with Benny Stewart.
Yeah, it's good to see as we see a bit of action there with young Joshua Parkinson, which I was actually just about to mention. Obviously, with our mixed servers, we've got lots of people running in the background, but there's obviously only one server that we get the visuals on. So good to see the likes of Joshua Parkinson pop up. Obviously, the young KZ2 driver running out of the IKS stadium in Auckland. So good to see him jump in there. And but as far as any sort of, I don't really have any names off the back of my head who I'd sort of like to see up the top there. It's just been bloody good racing, to be fair, Si. And we've obviously always seen, the people who've been doing a lot of testing generally pop to the top. The MX-5 was a good leveler, but I think there's something, if the F3 is the way you describe the car, I'd say we're going to get a few of the more seasoned campaigners, like your Cameron Dances, your Ben Stewarts, those type of people, Paul Dowdle, all those people, and pop up to the top. But see the likes. Obviously, we've got Sam Dunstall up there at the top, really good performer from last week. Good to see Zane Hills there in seconds. That's the young Rotax light driver from Auckland, running out of the Urban Performance stable there. So not a name we've seen too much at the top there. So good to see a nice new name up there, and Zane Hills doing a good job. Obviously adapted really well because he's got people like Cameron Dance behind him. Cameron doing a lot of iRacing, heavily involved with the hyper simulators in Auckland. So we'll see what happens there, Si. But certainly, as I said, there's no names that I'm looking to get up the top. I just want to see a good old ding dong battle, and I think it's going to be a bloody good night.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see as well if we can anyone who's been competing, in maybe server 2 or server 3 has been doing a bit of practice and can pop up and start challenging the guys in the first server, because this game does reward plenty of seat time. So it'll be good to see if we can have some guys with because that's just what this game is about. People learning, improving, and also trying racecraft. So when they do get back onto the KartSport circuit and their club days, they can hopefully put to practice some newfound skill. It looks like we've got the top 12 now, all starting to pop in times. 12 minutes left to run. Ben Stewart just went to P2, not too far off, only half a tenth off Sam Dunstall, who's fastest currently in the server So I don't think, Tony, we're going to see the end of this battle.
No, not at all, Simon. And I think as we following Benny Stewart here with a chase cam soon, I think from some information we had come through today, it's actually Ben's birthday today. So, and he's been doing a heap of testing this week. So good to see him up the front and here on his birthday as well too. He's not sit down with the family cutting some cake. He's out on the racetrack enjoying this F3. So happy birthday to Ben from all the commentary team up here. As we jump on board with Zane Hills in a sort of semi-McLaren sort of looking livery, really cool looking car there. And obviously there's that familiar name, Cameron Dance, popped up into P3 there, Zane Hills P4. Isaac Fletcher, one of our stalwarts from our KartSport events so far, and Gareth Exton there in 6th. That will be young Gareth Exton entry, so it'll be young William Exton racing out of Blenheim, the Sierra Karts supported driver out of Tasman Kart Supplies there in Nelson. Arthur Browan, obviously Matt Browan's son there, supported by Liquid Action there, obviously supporting our KartSport events for the next 5 odd weeks, I think. So, and young Nathan Cedino there as well in P8. So, a few new names and a few old names that we've been used to seeing the last couple of weeks. So,
yeah, exactly. We've got a good range of guys there. So I've done a few laps on this Daytona circuit. Obviously, it's known obviously for the Daytona 500 in terms of the NASCAR racing, but obviously the 24-hour race that they race here in January each year. Prototype cars, GTE cars, GT3 cars, so a real range of cars here. So, but 24 hours around this place will be pretty brutal on the cars. Obviously, you got a combination of high-speed banking and then in a really tight infield. There's a couple of big braking zones as well. So, just as the first big braking zone is just into turn 1, and Cameron Dance now come out of sort of turn 4, come up to a fast. Which is sort of the middle of the infield section. Heavy brake once again into a sort of but not quite a sweeper, sort of right. Crucial to get the power down here. It opens up on exit, so really tough. But this is probably the corner here. Tight on entry, opens up, and this is where we get onto the first sort of the embankment. See Cameron's running up nice and high here. Probably not on a fast lap at the moment because otherwise to be down underneath the yellow. Just waiting for a draft, because with these long straights, long banks, you probably want, if to get into that top half, it's going to be crucial. Such a long straight. But jumping on here, board with Gareth Exton. Tony, do you know much about Gareth? What does he race normally?
So Gareth Exton's will be the entry. So that should be, as to my knowledge, that should be William Exton. That'll be his son driving. So based out of the Marlborough region, obviously come up through the ranks, through Vortex Mini Rock, up through Junior Max, and obviously now in Senior Max. Very accomplished Senior Max driver in the South Island, and also races up here in the North Island as well too. So it's sort of, for an old boy like me, you sort of watch these young drivers from sort of cadets, right up through Junior Max. I did a little bit of coaching with young William a few years ago before the schools nationals in Blenheim. So he's sort of, and all of a sudden these boys are senior drivers. So it makes you feel pretty old once you've done coaching with them when they've been in sort of Vortex Mini Rock and those younger classes, and now they're in Senior Max. So, but a very accomplished young driver. Very good at just applying his trade in the South Island, and obviously any events he does in the North Island as well too. As we jump on board here with Dwayne Bewley, so that's obviously the Dwayne Bewley's the entry as well. That'll be his boy running out of Hastings, the Tony Kart supported driver, and he's got a fairly advanced sim from what I've been told. Only got it up and running last week, so good to see he's doing a good job here. No doubt getting a sim set up isn't an easy job, so good to see him doing a good job this evening there, Si.
Yeah, it's probably one thing to clarify as well. It's actually the reason why this as the entries is that it actually, I think there's an age limit for iRacing, obviously for credit card purposes and that. So, or it's actually quite hard to get your name changed back to obviously your obviously as us young karters do. We're once again bashing away on Dad's credit card to do even more racing. So just forgive us there if there is a few appearance names there. There is a bit of a reason before that, but yeah, few credit cards of yes, haven't they, in motorsport, Tony?
That's right. So they're hammering the parents' credit card when they're actually racing at the kart track, and they're still hammering the parents' credit card when we're in the virtual world. So probably very similar to your I'm guessing your iRacing account's still under Owen Evans, is it?
Mate, I wish. Still living at home, I could sneak it out of his wallet and we could have Owen Evans up there. But he'd be happy if I was actually probably a decent simulator racer. But since he would be he'd be dead against it because he wouldn't want to see his name towards the bottom of the field.
Oh, I can only imagine Big O, very much so. So 6 minutes to go here, team. Ben Stewart, the birthday boy in P1, 142.8. Only a gnats ahead of Sam Dunstall. So some familiar names as Cameron Dunstall there, P3, Zane Hills, P4. Isaac Fletcher still running in P5 there as we actually jump on board the birthday boy here, Ben Stewart. And he can take us for a lap around the old Daytona here. So actually interesting how you mentioned Simons, this is where they run the Daytona 24-hour. We were sort of trying hard to get a good buddy of ours, Earl Bamber, to drive tonight, but he's obviously sort of moving his way around the country at the moment. I think he's back down on his dad's farm in Wanganui, but no doubt we're going to try and get Earl and a few other ex-KartSport racers now turned obviously an open wheel and motorsport stars overseas. So we've got a few people lined up that we're going to try and get into this iRacing platform, and hopefully some of these young kids might get to race against some of their ex-KartSport heroes. So as we've got Chase Cam here on Daniel Harvey, and a really cool little setup here at Daytona. Daytona's known for its high-speed banked oval, and we sort of forget that they've got a really well-established infield, which lends itself well to, as you said, those World Endurance Championship races their side.
Yeah, it's obviously forgotten about most of the time of the year, but it really comes live in January, Raw of the 24, and then obviously the main 24-hour race. So, which Kiwi's done pretty well. I think Scott Dixon's won it a couple of times, and the race gets the Rolex 24-hour. So, not a bad little carrot at the end of the chain there to win here. Under 5 minutes to go now in our session. Penny Stewart's up there. No surprises here. Cameron Dance in third, and just making our way the field now. So you've got to remember, obviously, we've discussed it in the previous qualifyings, but even if you drop a wheel off, getting off track, have contact, and make your lap invalid. So really crucial to obviously try and maximise all the circuit on your qualifying laps, but being pinpoint with the accuracy and keeping it and trying to not get it off track. It's it could be the difference between in the first server or the last track, or the middle of the field when you should be at the front. But even running the old retro Renault livery, so obviously familiar colours from back in the day when I was watching F1. Super cool from when obviously Fernando Alonso went back-to-back with those World Championships. But looks like he has a bit of time here. Still got the dash next to him, so he might have just been running the off tracks. Super easy to actually get off track at the chicane section because you're trying to run a lot of curves, especially on the first left and on your way out. To obviously maximise all your momentum through here. But then it's also super easy just to get an off track, especially on the way out. But it looks like he's got there through pretty clean. And now it's a pretty straightforward run all the way to the finish line, TC.
Yeah, so you're good for Josh Short, obviously. Bank a bit of a time, as you see, as we've mentioned in the past, it can be a bit of risk versus reward with this type of thing. You get the car nice and straight off a chicane like that. You feel like you're getting a really good run, but if you drop a wheel off, obviously the system is going to penalise you. So, but it's good to see people just starting to stitch some laps together. Find their limit, as we see Josh have a massive moment into the left as you come off the banking. So he was looking for a good clean lap there, so a bit of a shame for Joshua. Overcooked it under brakes. Looks like he might have locked the rears on turn-in. So obviously, like any single seater, you want to try and brake as hard as you can, as late as you can in a straight line with the steering wheel as straight as possible. If the car in balance isn't quite right, if you've got a little bit of lock on, you'll start to unhook the rear under brakes, and that's obviously what's caught Joshua out there. So 2 minutes and counting to the end of our 20-minute session. It's gone quite fast. When I sort of said we were going to do a 20-minute qualifier, I thought we were going to be out here for ages. So it's gone very, very quick. So obviously we don't have any Tiff this evening. She's travelling around the North Island at the moment. But we've got Travis Smith is going to be helping us with the social media side of things tonight. How you going there, Travis?
Not bad. Yourself?
Good, mate. Good. So how are we looking on the Facebook side of things so far? As we've sort of got 1:30 counting. Anything exciting to report so far?
No, it's pretty quiet at the moment. There's not a lot chatting away. So just see Cameron Dance move up into P2 there, in between Sam Dunstall and Ben, which be a fierce fight tonight, hopefully. Big points on this track, breaking into turn one, lots of bumps, unsettles the car quite a lot, and easy to lock up.
So you've obviously, sort of not many of the viewers out there, so obviously hear your voice, Travis, but you've been involved in running this iRacing platform for KartSport New Zealand since day one, and then since we've had Scotty Fountain and the SimSpeed team get involved. I think you've been doing a stellar job, and I suppose we sort of thank you every week, but it's I think it goes without saying we sort of appreciate all your hard work and know that it's grown into a bit of a beast, and it's obviously been something that people have been wanting to do, hence we've had a lot of interest in it. So thanks for all your hard work, no doubt. And you've driven the F3 car around here. Can you tell us a little bit more about the characteristic of the car and what we're going to expect from people this evening?
Yeah, I've been driving it all weekend in the practice sessions. This corner here, turn 3, I think it is. A lot of oversteer exiting the corner, very easy to loop it. The turn 6 onto the banking, it's also very easy to lose the rear end because there's a bit of a bump on the exit. Chicane's not too bad actually in these. You've got heaps of turn in, so it's just running out wide on the exit. That's about it.
Excellent. It's certainly good to get a perspective from someone that's a lot more experienced on this platform than I am. Like as I said, I'm certainly no gamer and struggle to get my head around these type of things at times. So, and I think Simon's probably in between you and me. He's done a fair amount of it, but nothing to your experience. So I think between Simon's comments and what you've said, it certainly gives us a good idea there, Si, as we've got about 1:50 counting down there, I think, to the end of qualifying, Simon.
Yep. And then, so then we'll have obviously a little bit of a break and just work out the fastest for all our servers that we got going tonight. Looking at some earlier times from the practice sessions, I think got a 1:42 as a benchmark, but you can have a time, an off-track lap count on that. So be interesting to see who into our top server. And we just got so Ender has come about. We've got Isaac Fletcher here, who's on his last lap. Sector 1, Sector 2 has got must have had potentially has an off track quite early on because can't see any Sector 1 or Sector 2 times here, but will tell us he's come out to the start finish line and 45, no improvement there, but it'll be interesting to see fifth, just exactly where he puts it. And the beauty about the game is you don't have to drive, as you can see, all the way back to the pits. Quickly hit escape, and you can jump out. So we've a bit of a breakdown from the action, sort out these servers. Yeah, we've got the results from our session here. Obviously, that's just from the server that we're watching. So Ben Stewart on top with Cameron Dance P2, Sam Dunstall P3, Zane Hills in fourth, Isaac Fletcher, Leo Scott, Gareth or William X, Cameron Freeman, Paul Dowdle, and Braden Snowden rounding out the top 10.
So certainly tight at the top there, Simon. The sort of first five, only covered by a 10th as we drop down 11th through to 20th position there. Arthur Browan, obviously the Liquid Action supported driver, taking the 11th spot there, all the way down to P23. So as you mentioned, Si, we've got a few servers to sort of combine. We'll see what comes out of the woodwork there. And we'll get all revved up for race number 1 coming up soon. 8 laps. And obviously that's going to be taken, obviously, the results from qualifying. And then we're going to reverse the grid for race 2. So
Cool. So we're just going to chuck to a quick ad break now, and we'll be back with you guys shortly with some more information about iron service.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going with the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top
Oh
here.
my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get involved.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no.
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Assist to the front bumper, and he hits him again now. Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing!
Race lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit press sideways.
saved it.
What a save!
Look to the outside as Kroenke goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I trying, there's contact though.
Slide left to the racetrack. Chris Benner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashube, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
My name is Stephen Corpenos. I'm a senior web developer here at iRacing, and I work on the beta UI. It's funny because iRacing has been around for 10 years, but we want to keep delivering the best possible user experience to our customers, and we've found that the old UI isn't exactly what we're trying to deliver in 2018. We want to use new features and provide the best possible experience when using the sim. One of the projects that I've been working on is some custom heat racing configuration for hosted races. We've been listening to our customers. Everyone's been asking for custom heat races. Maybe you want to tweak a few things with the preset iRacing configurations. Well, now you can using the beta UI. So once you're at the home page of the beta UI, you just go to create a race. Then from there you go to your set race options. And you'll notice here under event types, you can actually choose heat racing. First, I'm going to show you how to create a new format from scratch. You can choose the number of entrants. And as you can see, when I made that change, the change was actually reflected on the right side in the graph. Also, you can use the estimated duration at the bottom of the graph when you're changing the length to see what the total duration of your event will be. In addition, you can customize every aspect of the session information, practice, qualifying, heat races, consolations, and of course, the final feature race. Because the beta UI allows us to develop features that are robust and complex, this feature will be exclusively available on the beta UI. Once you've made all of the changes, you can hit save. Say you forgot what you selected. You can always preview it using the preview format button. We are very excited to release the brand new heat racing configuration feature that will be available in Season 3 of iRacing.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my god! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?
And welcome back, guys. Thanks for bearing with us there. Just getting the final little installations for the servers going up now. So, in the not too distant future, we should have the our grid for our race that we'll be streaming here tonight. But as we got this awesome aerial view of the virtual Daytona Roval. We actually can't call it the Roval because Charlotte has got that trademarked the Roval word, as I learned that from watching NASCAR yesterday. But down at our bottom right, obviously nice clear skies, 18 degrees and track temp about 40 degrees. So you can actually run a live timing JRT system, which shows all the track temp. So but if you are wondering if you're going a little bit slow, you can quite often look up at your track temp and see if it's because of that or if it's just you being a bit inconsistent. But 2 races lined up. First one, normal grid. Then, like Tony said, 8 laps. And then the second one rolling into a longer reverse grid race. And we actually, the cool thing is we actually ran a poll on the KartSport page, and gave the racers the opportunity to decide what they wanted to do. So whether it was this format or a longer race with a pit stop or that, and that's the beauty about doing this KartSport event, is we're really trying to make it to what the racers want, and this is exactly what we asked for. And it's, I see Supercars this week they've probably copied us, because they're doing a fan poll to what track they're going to run as their second track this week. But it's quite cool how we can interact the drivers, Tony, isn't it? And ask them what they want and deliver exactly.
Yeah, that's right. That's obviously where this iRacing platform is. Excuse me, is quite user friendly in that sense. Where we can engineer whatever we want on how the platform works. So, and once we're actually going back to getting back to the racetrack. We were going to be delayed till at the end of June, but hopefully back racing at our local kart tracks mid-June. Hopefully our series kicking off sort of by July. That could be something that a few of the clubs could implement. Survey their members or their drivers. If you've got a place which has floodlights or can run midweek or anything like that, they could mix it up for their members and ask some of the drivers what they might want to do. People might want to do some twilight racing on a Wednesday night or something like that. So no reason why something like that couldn't be implemented. And obviously by our kart tracks around the country once we're all up and running properly. So a little bit over a minute and a half nearly just in our warm-up here at the moment as we're just on board Nathan Krang, the NZ Motorsport supported driver out of Auckland. Obviously the NZ livery on his car there, supported by Daniel Bray. Some really nice colours on that car. So be interesting to sort of see once as our services are all sorted out, where all these drivers will fall into place. But 8 laps should be a pretty action-packed sprint race. Obviously these cars, last time we ran on the circuit was in the Radical, if I remember rightly, last time their size. So I think so far the balance in the F3 looks quite good. People have adapted really well, as we can see our lap times just in our warm-up session here before we go for race 1. So young Hayden Backeris, the Junior Max driver, running out of Auckland there. So his warm-up's going well so far. Aston Phipps P2, Daniel Harvey, the Dunedin driver, in P3, Zach Blinko, Nathan Cedino, Leo Scott, Aaron Wilson. So a few new names in there. And a few of our normal protagonists as well too. Ben Stewart having a nice warm up there in P10. So, what are you predicting for the race there, Si? Are we predicting canoes, or are we predicting some nice smooth racing and everyone bringing it back in one piece?
I think turn 1 will probably see probably minimum 1 canoe come out of it. It's quite obviously to break it into quite easy to lock it a left front and then probably go skidding into the cars in front. So hopefully not too many, because we want to but to be honest, I can't see many people anyone being able to pull away because of the drafting. It's your draft comes within a second. So even if you're really quick through the infield section, if you can't pull over a second lead, the guys behind you are gonna suck right up onto you. But here we've got Jaden Ransley on the pole, with Ben Stewart on the 2. Paul Blomqvist driving for Tasmanian Motorsport tonight on 3. Cameron Dance, Sam Dunstall on P5. Zach Blinko 6. Zane Hill, Angus Klassen 8. Hayden Backeris 9, and Isaac Fletcher. Great job rounding out the top 10.
And obviously going through to our 11 through to 20, Corey Green. Good to see Corey back up there, as we said. Sort of hasn't had the rub of the green lately. He's had some good speed, but sort of just been getting caught up in other people's accidents. So it'd be good to see Corey have a good clean race tonight. Aston Phipps P12, Leo Scott 13, Andrew Jackson P14. The Gareth Exton entry, William Exton P15 there, Cameron Freeman, and the Cargill driver out of 16, and we're away their team. So running straight off the embankment there, standing start as we make our way down into turn 1. So a fantastic start by young Paul Blomqvist, the Auckland driver, and he's into P1 already, as we've got some cars sparing off Most of them seem to keep all their corners intact, so no canoes yet, Simon. But Paul Blomqvist dropping down the order there as we see Jaden Ransley been doing plenty of testing this week. Looks like it's paid off, and we've got plenty of action still going on there. I'd say there's going to be some quick repairs going on pretty shortly, Simon.
Yeah, Carbon Fiber City, wasn't it? So be interesting to see what happened to Paul Blomqvist, because he got an absolute rip snorter over the start, but has dropped his way back down. It'll be good to see who got. But hey, look, Jaden Ransley has managed to pull out a lead. We've got Jaden Ransley out to a 1.7 lead, Sam Dunstall and Cameron Dance. So as they make the way into the oval, so hopefully soon we'll be able to catch a replay of the start and just might be able to see what happened to young Paul Blomqvist as well. The Moton simulation replay. And the hardest thing about actually starting on the embankment is you can actually slide down and the cars go sideways. So got to be really precise to make sure you get that power delivery. But should be any moment here from a start. And here we go. Jump on board. Paul Blomqvist into the lead, and cold tyres, cold mind, isn't it? Young bloke, cold tyres, and he saw daylight, and he must have got a bit excited. So really disappointed for him to come out of there. So we jump on board the Muzz Mini Motorsport on board, turns in, and the rear just goes on him. So he'll be disappointed, but keep in mind you got that reverse grid. Let's see how he can fight his way back through the field. But it's just carbon fiber city, isn't it, all through here. For this real life, there'll be dollar bills going right out the door. But thanks to Motum Simulation for our replay as we jump back on board with the front group here. The tag here off into the barriers. There's two wheels hanging off that are rear wheels. So I just didn't quite catch who that was. It could be the Zach Blinko. Yeah, and the car looking very second hand in the pits there, Tony.
Yeah, a bit of a shame. It looked like Cameron Dance might have been caught up in that as well too. So as we jump on our Motum replay there, so half a move, he's got a wheel just inside, and obviously Zach Blinko was on the receiving end of that as we get into the right-hander. So he'll be ducking back to the pits for that quick repair that we talk about, and hopefully get all four wheels back on that F3 and get back out there as soon as we can. He's had a bit of bad luck in some of the previous races as well too. So as we watch the tail end of our replay here, so he's got a good run off there, and it's just half a move, just out-braked himself a little bit, and just caught the right rear end there. So bit of a shame, but as we said, you know the way that the F3 works, so you can really feel the tyre come on. So we're probably still dealing with a slightly colder tyre for these drivers at the moment. So Jaden Ransley, our leader, he's got a little under 3 seconds from Angus Classen, so a massive margin for Jaden. We know he's been doing a lot of practice this week. Sam Dunstall, the performer from last week, just a little over 3 seconds back. And then another quite a big margin for Cameron Dance, 6 seconds, a little over 6 seconds for Cameron there. But Paul Blomqvist clawing his way back. 13 seconds is the margin, but Paul will chip away and hopefully bring that margin down. Obviously, just behind him, Dyson Freeman, the driver from Invercargill side.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, good to see this battle here heading up the lap traffic. Just got out of the way. Be interesting to see what he can do here in terms of the draft. It's all about, you got to be quite strategic. Do you want to get the pass done before the chicane and then let them have the opportunity to come back to you after the fast chicane, or do you play the game and just sit behind him and then get the run and try and make the move in one? So. Yeah, really, really tough, in terms of that mind games about what you want to do. And the other thing is, you might get sucked up and be able to pip him to the line, because you'll just start seeing the moment the draft starts to pick up now, and we're just getting stuck right in behind here. So he wants to get right in behind him. As you can see, he's going to start. It's going to be super close here. We tested it out. Can I beat him to the line? So for the end of the race, you know, is that the position where I want to be? Do I him going into the chicane? So these are just little things you're trying to feel out during the race test.
So it certainly makes for quite a hard pass, doesn't it? That draft is all well and good that we talk about. You see it happening here in front of us with Zane Hills and Daniel Hall. But you're going to be putting yourself on the outside into turn one. So you've either got to be, you know, that first run, once you get onto the high-speed oval section, you've got to be right in front of that, you know, right on the tail end of that car in front of you. So you're not using that whole high-speed oval section to actually get the toe and actually get by the person. You want to be right on their, right on the back of their tub to start with. So by the time you get up into turn one, you've actually gone by them, because it is going to be quite a hard pass if you're only just utilising that draft to get next to them as we get into turn one, because it's a very, very easy for the leading car just to stay left. They've got the inside line for turn one. The entry's nice and wide, so they don't have to concentrate on heading too far right, for instance. So as we jump on board here, obviously on one of our chase cams here, so we've got a battle between young Aston Phipps and Marco Giltrap, the Auckland driver, won the North Island Rotex Heavy Championship last year at Rosebank Raceway, and looks like Marco's sporting some old school chrome McLaren livery there, Simon, with the Vodafone sign writing on there. So pretty sharp looking car. I don't see chrome on race cars too much these days, Simon. People are really into their satin and matte colours, so cool to see a little bit of chrome, a little bit of hot rod coming back there, Si. And we'll be keeping an eye on Marco's progress through the night. He started 19th and obviously made his way up to 14th there. So just a good solid drive for Marco so far. And I know he'll definitely be looking excited to get back to the actual racetrack very soon. Yeah, I mean, you don't see... if you've been around our pits, you'll see plenty of chrome, mate. Okay, I can tell you that much for free. Chrome and can't go wrong, really, because at least if you don't win, you look good. But we'll just got a bit of a spin there. I think I didn't quite catch who that was. It looks like that was young Isaac Fletcher. So quite a tricky, hour zone that is. Feeding the power on there, because you still got quite a bit of lock in the steering wheel. It's easy just to have the rear of the car step out, and obviously being quite a small car, it can just snap on you and you just go around. Not your typical sort of obviously drifting car, but just noticed that Cameron popped in the fastest lap of the race on the last lap. So it was previously held by Jaden Rainsley. So he's going to be putting his head down now, running in fourth position, trying to see if he can second and third place, and see if he can sneak his way onto the podium. 3 laps to go. The gaps, he's just out of the draft at the moment, but and with the 2 guys battling in front of him, I'm sure he will find his way onto the back of them and come into the last lap. He's only 2.2 seconds behind Tony, so I think this will be a battle to watch come towards the end of the race. Yeah, Cameron's going to have the ears pinned back. You talk about that draft, Simon. Certainly going to help the guys in front, but they're going to be battling. So hopefully they might hold themselves up a little bit as we jump on board with our chase cam, our Goodyear blimp, I suppose you could call it, from what they used to run years ago, a lot of the NASCAR events. So we jump on our blimp cam. And I don't think it's going to take much for young Cameron to get on the back of these guys, because he's driving nice, smooth laps using very little racetrack. He's trying to keep that lap distance as short as possible. We know he's an experienced driver, and if these two can hang each other up in front of him, so we can see our real-time gap between these two, he's really hauling that gap in. So within a couple of laps, hopefully we can see Cameron get on the back of these boys, and we might see a good old ding-dong battle going down to the wire there side.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We'll pay attention to that. But following on board here, Paul Blomqvist, he's made a really solid recovery. Just over 8 seconds back from Cameron Dance. So probably just in finishing mode here. He's got a decent gap behind him of about 7 seconds as well. So he just wants to probably have a mistake-free run here towards the end of the race, and that's going to put him just ahead of those front guys there. But it looks like he's wearing board shorts inside that car, and he's gone for the classic Hart board shorts from Trading Park. Pretty successful race suit he's gone there. Really great vision there of the chicane section. Really fast. Obviously, plenty of aero in these cars, but just watching that gap there between Angus Class and Cameron Dance, he's pulled another half a second back this lap already. So coming into 2 laps, as soon as he gets within that 1 second, he's going to find himself getting a nice little suck onto the back of them, especially if these two start.
That's right, Simon. Obviously, if these two, worked well together, there's no reason why they probably shouldn't pull the gap on Cameron, but he really is pegging it back. Going back to those onboards of Paul Bonkus, it's good to see that Paul's taste in virtual race suits and clothing isn't much different to his actual taste in race suits and clothing in real life. So he's really, really taking his taste from the real world into the virtual world with a nice off-numbered sort of pink leather glove there. So nice work there, Paul. Good to see things haven't changed. And obviously, you can see his margin has shrunk a little bit to Cameron Dance. But that's not where the action is at the moment. It's certainly P4, P3, P2 we're keeping an eye on. But, dropping back to Zane Hills there in P6. He's sort of been just chipping away the last couple of nights. So good to see a result coming for him this evening. As we go down the list, we've got a good mix of names and as we've mentioned in the past, a good mix of age groups. We've got some Senior Max drivers racing some Vortex Mini Rock drivers. So it's the great thing about this iRacing platform. You can race against someone that you normally wouldn't be, obviously, on the actual racetrack. So 7 of 8 laps done. Jaden Ramsey still our leader. 3.8 seconds is the margin. Without putting the commentator's curse on it, he can pretty much tick that win off for him so far if he just drives a nice, relaxed and straight race. But Cameron Dance, this is the man on the move. This is one we want to keep an eye on. Final lap, it might be a bit of a struggle to get back onto those boys, Simon.
Yeah, I think there's Sam Dunsmore and Angus must be listening to the commentary because they've done exactly what you've mentioned before about working together, Tony, and that gap has just plateaued. So if they can do the same there, slight lock up by their Sam, obviously they'll cost them a tenth or two. Easy to lock it inside front here. But if they work together on this final bit of the set much, it should just buy them enough time to have that gap heading into the long straight to the finish line. But 1.4 seconds now, looking on our top far left, and they're already starting to battle. So this will be Cameron Dance will be seeing this, and he's going to tuck right up behind them, 1.1 behind them. So this is definitely got to be all on, and he could be the surprise podium.
Yeah, he certainly ripped some time out of them in this final lap there. Obviously, they'd relaxed there, that sort of 1.5 laps to go, but they've really just pulled the tear off and just grabbed another gear. These boys are hooking into it now. And it's only going to take for them to bang wheels a little bit, but Cameron's just a little bit too far behind. And saying that, he's just tagged onto the back of them. Must have got a bad run out of the chicane. He's popped himself down the inside. That's a massive move. Really clean driving by both of them, and it's not over yet, Simon.
No, it's definitely not. And like I say, that he's riding the draft, pulled out, and he looks like he just get it done here. He's on the embankment. It looks like we're going to photo finish. Oh no, we've got tears, and it's all over. But that was actually after the finish line. But Cameron Dance has pipped them for second place by 200ths of a second there, Tony. So fantastic last lap battle. Like I say, he timed that run.
We were talking the whole time, weren't we, Simon? We didn't think he was going to get there, but it didn't take much for those boys to hold themselves up a little bit. They were running side by side, so they were pushing a lot of air, and Cameron got onto the back of them, and they all made it across the finish line in a really, really small margin, then managed to just canoe themselves back to pit lane. So that was a brilliant way to finish off, but take nothing away from Jaden Ramsey, remember, our winner of our first 8-lap race this evening. He's earned himself a full rear of grid position for the next heat, as we see the rest of our finishers just finishing off, following young Nathan Cedino there, and a really good effort by all involved. And certainly the margins between 4 to 1 Really, really tight, and shame for young Paul Blomqvist there to have that spin at the start, because I reckon he would have been one to be reckoned with at the end there, Simon.
Yeah, Paul's already sent me a message about his start, and I just backed him up by giving him a bit of confidence, telling him that we actually went on board with a replay with him. So we just hopefully he doesn't do it again. But in a moment, our Motum simulation replay of that fantastic finish by Cameron Dance, time that run to perfection. Yeah, I mean, he just got right on the toe right at the last minute. So here we go. Oh, just get the camera here. So that obviously Sam and Angus tied themselves up and slowed each other up here. And with Cam carrying all the momentum, plucked off the first, and as you see, ducks right into the back of the slipstream shot, pulls out, and he can see where the Daytona sign is, and just gets him by 200ths of a second, and then they all come together. Typical iRacing fashion. It's almost like etiquette that you take everyone out after the finish line. But as we go on to the Sard Straight, you see them battling here. Obviously, being a fast chicane running side by side, they're always going to slow each other up, Tony. So, and as you see, he just carries all the motor through here, and these two get a bad exit. And yeah, they probably didn't even realize that he was coming. So yeah, otherwise I don't think he would have left them. Yeah, fantastic slipstream here, and well,
yeah, that was really impressive, and it was all down to those two boys running side by side through the chicane, as you said, Simon. If they were running line astern, one behind the other, I don't think Cameron would have got to them. So he's got a massive run through the chicane. Full credit to him. Really deserves that second place. We'd put the cats out. We said he wasn't going to get there, and he proved us wrong. So well done there, Cameron. As we go through our top 10, obviously P2, Cameron Dance, Sam Dunstall, Angus Classen, Paul Blomqvist, P5, Zane Hills, P6, good drive by him. Daniel Hall, Dyson Freeman, Nathan Crane, the NZ Motorsport driver there in P9, and young Mitchell Sparrow also running out of Auckland in P10 there. So, and going through our 11th through to 20th there, Simon.
Yeah, got Wayne Phipps with driving that in 11th. Marco Giltrap up to 12th, so I think he's had from 19th, so good run for him. Hayden Backer is 13th, Nathan Seduto 14th, Benny Stewart, the birthday boy, 15th, Isaac Fletcher, we saw him have that spin earlier on, Zach Blinko in 17th, Ollie Workman, Alex Purley, and Leo Scott rounding out the top 20 at a lap down. So obviously caught up in those earlier instants there. Likewise, Daniel Harren Wilson, obviously running out of the KartSport Auckland for many of years, pulled out Andrew Jackson, our last on that one lap down. Laps down there, so not an ideal run for him. Braden Snowden, 26, Arthur Browen, 27th. So William Exton and Cameron Freeman, 29th. Obviously 7 laps down, but hey, like we keep going on about, the bonus about this format is have a bad race 1, puts you in a great position for race 2. I know we keep going on. That's the beauty about our iKartSport format, and looks like we might have here to talk about that last lap. Sam, obviously Cameron Dance has come through and pipped you guys in the line. Were you aware that he was...
Nah, I didn't actually realise he was that close to us. He sort of came out of nowhere and definitely gave me a surprise, but that's racing, and he did well to get the double draft, I think he did, and then pounced right at the last second, so well done him.
Yeah, but obviously you and Angus had a really good race there. Obviously you couldn't break away from each other. Is that because of the slipstreaming here at the Daytona road course?
Yeah, there was a bit of slipstream. It didn't work quite the way I thought it would, because the cars, they kind of topped out not far above their natural kind of top speed. So the drafting was a bit weird, and also with the apron as well. But that mixed with the dirty air that you'd get through the chicane, it made it quite difficult to break away. And it was quite tight.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, mate, obviously starting at the back of this race here, have you got a bit of done many reverse grid race at this point? Mate, do you have a bit of a plan? Are you going to try attack the turn one? Because we saw at the start of that race we had quite a few people come together. Are you going to attack, or are you going to just roll through turn one and then try press?
I think rolling through the first lap really is going to be the way to go. Keep it clean, and then push on through there. Hopefully, follow maybe Jaden or someone might be around me. So we'll see what we can do, and yeah, give it everything.
Yeah, mate. Well, well done on your third, and all the best for your for the reverse grid race coming up.
Cheers, guys.
Well, that was interesting, Tony, wasn't it? Obviously, wasn't aware that Cameron was there, but I think we've got Cameron on the line there. And Tony, do you want to have a chat to him about his move on the last lap?
Yeah, perfect. So obviously we've been watching replays over and over there, Cameron, and we sort of, to be honest, me and Simon had written you off that last lap. We thought he's probably not going to quite get there, but you had a good run through the chicane, mate. They ran too wide. Well done on your place, mate. Bloody good.
Yeah, just one of those classic drafting techniques of the guys ahead of fighting, and you just managed to just get that run to end up having the advantage. So yeah, it was a really, really close finish. I didn't actually think, like you guys said, whether I was going to get them in the end, but they just continued to fight, so it just ended up making it that much easier.
Yeah, it was good. You were chipping away there for all. You took a fair chunk out of them, and then probably 2 laps from the end, it looks like they might have been listening to what we were saying as far as commentators go. Then they sort of stopped battling, but then, within a lap and a half towards the end, the bloody, all the elbows came out and they started slowing one another up. And we thought Cameron's not going to get there, but a massive run for you, mate, and it certainly made for some good action from our end. So, starting off the back now, what are your thoughts on our feature race of 16 laps tonight, buddy?
I mean, it's just going to be a matter of being patient and using the draft to my advantage to get through the field. Obviously, with everybody running the apron, and also the draft sort of being a bit neutralized by when everybody tops out at about the same time, it's going to make it quite difficult to overtake into turn one, for example, or down the back straight. But nevertheless, we'll give it a red hot go and fire a few up the inside if we can.
Yeah, no, you'll be fine, mate. We've got complete faith that we'll be watching your progress as you come through. So good luck for Heat 2, mate, and we look forward to hopefully keeping all 4 wheels on it, and we might see you on the podium, mate. Good luck.
Cheers, guys.
And we'll go to a quick break, and we'll be back very shortly with our full reverse grid, 16 laps there, team, to finish off our KartSport race for this evening. Be back shortly.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up top
Oh my god! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Section's very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Hi there, I'm Richard Jobling, Senior Software Engineer here at iRacing. I'd like to show you some of the work that we've been doing to improve the collision and the damage in our sim. One of the major changes we've made is how our collision systems work. The old system stored the track as parametric surfaces, and the cars were made of collections of spheres. As the cars moved around the track, we would recompute planes using the track surfaces, and then test those against the spheres. This worked well for spheres, but was too specialized to adapt to our shapes. So for the new system, we've built new high-resolution meshes for each track. This is more efficient and gives us a lot more flexibility for the car shapes. The new mesh incorporates all the track features our guys worked so hard to replicate. Things like curb geometry and changes in the surface material are all baked into the mesh. We've also taken our laser scan data and applied that to the mesh. And since the mesh is so high resolution, we capture all the detail that's necessary so that the tracks are just like the real thing. With our new mesh, we can now represent cars using smooth, convex hulls which grouped together form the chassis, the bodywork and all the other parts of the car. The new shapes are a much closer fit to the shape of the real car. During impacts, the shapes can deform according to the damage, and eventually they can break off as separate objects. All the parts, like wings, hoods and wheels, can also hang from their joints, flapping and vibrating until they eventually snap off. All these changes are going to add a whole new level of realism to our races. If you want to find out more, please visit iracing.com and check out my blog post for lots more details.
Hi, my name is Greg Hill. I'm the Vice President of Art and Production here at iRacing. This damage project that we've been discussing is certainly a project that involved all hands on deck to pull off. We've got a rather sizable number of cars in our portfolio, and not all of these cars have been built with this dynamic damage system in mind. So what we had to do is one by one go through our race cars, and we had a team of 3 artists, a highly technical modeler, our technical art director, and our associate art director. All took on each car one at a time, and the work involved was researching that car, researching what would happen to that car if it were in a crash, depending on the forces involved in the crash, how severely it would be damaged, what parts might come off, what those pieces might look like when they're removed, what it would look like where the car is has areas exposed that were previously covered by bodywork. So they had to do a lot of modeling to each race car, and they had to do a lot of work to essentially set up how the car would react to forces. So essentially setting the strength of the materials. What kind of force would it take to rip off this side pod, for example? Or under what circumstances would this nose cone get ripped off of a car? Or under which would it remain, but just be badly damaged? But all said, it's been a lot of work, but seeing the car models interact with the physics system and the new crash dynamics is really exciting and really cool to see, and definitely makes all that hard work worth it.
Hi, my name is Jose Diaz. I'm a visual effects artist at iRacing. I specialize in particle effects ranging from fireworks to water fountains, debris, crash, impacts, all in the service of improving the driving experience. So you have the main sort of new damage model that Richard's been working on. So that takes into consideration all the mounts and the chassis from the cars and which materials they are. And he's making all the calculations that tell you, like, okay, it got hit from this one side and the strength of that impact is this certain amount of values. If you hit something, that means that this mount gets off, something breaks. This gets added on top of that to sort of complement what is happening there with things that you would see in real life when a car crashes. So typically in a car crash, you will see all these little particles of dust, metal, scratches that will take all that force and momentum and kind of explode in a way. And it's all being driven by how fast the car was coming, how hard the impact was against what. That will give you that sense of like, man, that person really crashed hard, or oh, it was just a small bump.
Hi, my name is Chris Lurch. I'm one of the vehicle dynamicists here at iRacing. Our role in the collision project is to tune the collision properties of each and every car to ensure that they behave and wrecks as a real car would. And we've spent quite a bit of time going through literature from the automotive industry on the subject to make sure that we have panels that deform the way they're supposed to, both temporarily and permanently, that pieces that don't deform but rather just break at appropriate times in appropriate ways. The cars are absorbing energy the way they should and aren't sort of bouncing off the walls in crazy ways. The major properties that we look at are stiffnesses, which is how much a piece of the car deforms when a load is applied to it. And then we look at a couple of limits. One is the force limit beyond which the piece deforms permanently. And then the second limit that we look at is the break limit, the force limit beyond which the piece will simply break. And then we also will look at damping, which is how much the piece absorbs energy versus how much it takes like a spring and can absorb as potential energy and then rebound back out like a basketball would.
On this week's Cool Cars, the new Volkswagen T-Cross, the Porsche 911 992 C2 is in the showroom, an all-new Lamborghini. Max Verstappen drives the Valkyrie, and we talk to Brendan Hartley. It's all just a click away.
And welcome back, guys, to the KartSport Virtual Club Day. Just thought we'd run you through the results from the other server that we've got running tonight. Victorious in that one was Liam Pink. Joshua Parkinson, who was in our qualifying server, didn't quite get a time, so he's the grid to finish in P2. Glenn Dodd, Mike Muir, Darren French, Douglas Walker, Shane, Brad Winslick, Brent Malhop, Shane, Jason Bates, Simon Berlin Claridge, Phil Brad still rounding out the top 15 there with Aaron Black just behind him, but he's got disconnected to his name, so must have had a few internet issues there with young Tom Bewley. But they'll be doing the reverse format as what the first ever has done. So we're just underway now, guys. We're just running a warm-up session now, getting the reverse grid sorted, and then we won't be too far away from the action there, Tony.
Yeah, see, you mentioned internet issues there. I'm having one of those evenings as well, by the sound of it. So my feed keeps dropping in and out. So we're all back on board now, and I can see what's happening coming live from Daytona. So forgive me if I do sound like I'm talking about the wrong screen, but we're all back and up and running here. So as we said, good to hear some results from some of our other servers. I think Travis mentioned before we got 52 people in total running. So that's good to see the support still nice and high for these KartSport events. And I think for the weeks to come, that should still be the case. As we're looking forward, obviously coming up to our final race this evening, 16 laps, full reverse grid. And let's not forget about our chocolate fish that we've got to give away. KartSport New Zealand literally has a pallet load of chocolate fish boxes to give away. So we've got another 5 boxes of those to give away this evening. One's going to go to our winner. Second one's going to go through the biggest mover through the field. So no doubt that might be the winner as well. But we can juggle that up here in the commentary box. So biggest mover will get one as well. Obviously, always talking about that Facebook content. So get on board, support the race through the various social media feeds through Facebook. Our best Facebook comment. If you want to give some of your drivers a bit of jip or G them up, we'll go from there. We'll certainly be looking for some good Facebook feedback through there. and also the best livery. We've got some really well engineered liveries out there, and Scotty Fountain, who's running the server for us from SimSpeed TV, he'll be going through those with a fine tooth comb, and we'll announce that sort of probably in the next sort of 24 hours who we think's the best livery for this evening, and then we've got another box which we're just going to make up as we go along there, side sound of it.
Yeah, and maybe if you're watching on the Facebook Live as well, and you spot a livery that you really like, drop it in the comments section so then we can go back and make sure, because a lot of people put a lot of effort into their liveries. So if you spot one out there, drop in the comments section who it is, so we can appreciate all the hard work that and obviously, Tony, the big talking point actually going into this reverse grid race is that they've turned down. So this, we saw, nose cones flying, wings flying, reverse grid race, no damage. I guarantee New Zealand V8s back in the day for their reverse grid races would have wanted damage off as well.
Yeah, very much so. We're going to have, if we had some big movers before and some brave moves, I think we're going to have some big, brave moves in this one, obviously, with that damage turned off. But in saying that, I hope, obviously, everyone respects it as well, too. We don't want it to turn into a crash fest. So it's still about sort of keeping it nice and clean, driving within your limits, treating it like you normally would. So here's our grid positions. Cameron Freeman, the Invercargill driver, starting at P1. William Exton, P2. Arthur Browan from Liquid Action, supported driver there. P3. Braden Snowden was certainly in amongst some action last week. And so he's starting off P4. Corey Green, P5. So hopefully Corey can get a good result tonight. Andrew Jackson, P6. Paul Dowdle, 7. Aaron Wilson, the Auckland KZ2 driver, P8. Daniel Harvey out of Dunedin, P9. Leo Scott, P10. So, and we're ready to go this side. Full reverse grid race, 16 laps about to go underway. Standing start and some massive moments straight off the start line there. People straight into the fence there, Si. And this is, we were talking about this, but we certainly didn't expect that. We've got guys on their lids. We've got all sorts going on. And hence why the no damage for this one, Simon.
Yeah, it's probably going to take us a lap to figure out who got caught up in that and who didn't. Because I can see the background, they're still coming together down at the embankment. Caught a lot of guys out there trying to take off on the slope. Can actually just chuck the car sideways, and it looked like that happened for another number of guys there. So it might just take just to sort itself out there. I'm still trying to wrap my head because I saw probably numerous cars upside down. But hey, thank God we're in the virtual world. But we've got the fantastic Muzz Minion Motorsport livery there, Paul Blomqvist with his pink wheels over around here. So not too sure the Red Bull entry there. Hopefully Dr. Marco's not watching because he just had a spin back onto the infield. But as we hopefully the timing comes back to normal to give you a proper running order there.
Yeah, it's certainly the running order there for a while. Simon looked like sort of happy hour at Queensland Raceway on a test day. It was jumping all over the place while it was trying to keep up with what cars were actually sitting on their wheels and what cars were sitting on top of the airbox. So I think it's starting to correct itself now. Obviously, 16 laps. It's not something that they want to get in and tear the ears off it straight away. That draft's going to come into play as we talked about size. So I think cool heads will prevail with this one, Simon, even with the damage turned off.
Yeah, it looks like that young Ashton Phipps has had a great start there. He's got just a 0.3 of a second lead over his birthday at his day. Yeah, and Zach Lenko in third. So just caught someone spear off at turn 1. The action is still going on for sure, but big dive there on Marco Giltrap as they just come together. Fantastic chrome livery, must say. That was well ahead of its time when that old McLaren livery came out with the chrome. I think it was obviously brother Lewis Hamilton first got into it, but more coming together here just behind Paul Blomqvist. So didn't quite catch who that was. So he's taken an easy route, jumped on the shortcut. He'll probably just have a slow down, so you have to wait for a second or two, then he'll be back up and running, Tony.
So how's Cameron Dance's form? Obviously, we spoke to Cameron post-race before. Cameron's already up to P4, and he's come right off the last row on the grid. So his action plan so far that he talked about is really coming into play now. Just a nice, smooth couple of laps, couple of nice, clean passes, gets a really good run. So you can see that's where that experience comes in. Through that fast chicane, up onto the oval, gets the car nice and straight very early. Obviously, a car that's in a straight line, travels quicker than a car that's turning. So, and Cameron's putting that into proof, and he's actually up to P3 now as well, chasing down our birthday boy, Benny Stewart. Young Aston Phipps, still our leader. He's doing a good job out there, the young junior Rotax driver out of Auckland. But Cameron's still having a bit of a battle there with Zach Blinko, backwards and forwards there on our running order. So you can see the margin here between Aston Phipps and Ben Stewart. Very, very minor. So we'll keep an eye on this as they jump up onto the high-speed oval very shortly. Is Ben Stewart just going to play it calm and and run behind young Aston, see if they can develop that gap, open it up? Doesn't look like he's already jammed it in the hole. He hasn't been listening to us. It's on for young and old here, team. He's got the elbows out. Ben Stewart wants to lead from the front straight away there, Si.
Yeah, he probably didn't like it when he saw Cameron Dance pop up in third there, and he's probably seen the replay of his Cameron's move at the end of the last race. So he's probably wanted to get his head down and try pull out a lead, but really tough, like we said, to pull a lead on the oval section of the draft. So Cameron Dance just a second behind him. Just looking on the leaderboard, Jaden Ransley, he's a very good first opening lap, so he's only 7.6 seconds off the lead. So you'd still have to say that it is a very good opening sequence of laps for him, starting from dead last. So we watch him come into the fast chicane section. He's in a perfect position here to get the draft and suck on up to the guys in front of him.
And as we go back down through order, there's Corey Green, P6. We talk about Corey week after week. He's always running around that P6, P7. He's run up inside the top 3 at times, but just never had that luck to get on that podium. So for me, I'd really like to see Corey have a good result tonight. He's been there every night running, normally getting caught up in a few other people's accidents, and they're always driving really clean. So it'd be really good to see Corey actually get some reward for his efforts. Get up inside that P3, and certainly got some really nice livery there with the IKS Sodi Cut livery on his Formula 3 car there. So we'll keep an eye on Corey. Be good to see him maybe jump up inside that top 3, be just rewards for all the other driving that he's been doing. As we jump on the modem simulation replay here, so this is with Zach Blinko. So pops a wheel on the curb and then runs into the pit lane exit by the look of it. So just sort of got caught up in there. Not sort of anyone's fault, certainly a racing incident there. As they jump off the curb there, the car spears to the left and there's nowhere for Zach to go. So a bit of a shame for him. He was certainly wrong place, wrong time. And why we were going away with our replay there, so it sounds like we've missed the pass for the lead. We'll dial up a replay for that very shortly, but by all accounts, we're 4 laps in of our 16-lap reverse grid race there, Simon. Let's just see how this pans out, but certainly at the moment she's elbows out and people are making the most of that no damage. As we look at the replay here, Si.
Yeah, obviously, so what you tell when a whole lot of race car drivers is that there's no damage on. They're hammer and tong, aren't they? So, jumping on board here. I think also, Tony, what we missed there is the Sam Dunstall unfortunately got caught up as well. So he'd just hit the fastest lap, and then poor old Zach obviously caught the wall. He bounced back out and took out poor Sam. So very unfortunate for him. But let's see what these guys can do now, and we're just going to go live here with Jaden Ransley. So he's in 4th, so really good progress from him. He started from grid 30 in this race. Lap 5, that many positions. you definitely have to have a good run. Just I see old Tom and Jerry on the side of his car, so he's picked up a brilliant sponsor this week.
How does that work? So you obviously get into your iRacing account, you go to Walt Disney and you say, look, I'm doing this race for KartSport New Zealand. Do you want to sponsor me? Like, there's some of these liveries. Like I said, there's a Lego sponsored car. So, there's some big companies supporting some small time drivers here from New Zealand. It's probably bigger than we were we're actually underestimating how famous these KartSport events are, judging by the sponsors we've got on board tonight, Si.
Yeah, I mean, everyone just wants to be on board, don't they? Look, supercars are taking copying our fan polls in terms of what racing we want. Got Disney, Cartoon, Lego, McLaren, you name it. Everyone's jumping on board. They just want to be part of the iKartSport Virtual Club Days.
So obviously, back up the front. So Aston Phipps, he's haven't got visuals on him at the moment, but he's back in the lead by a very small margin. So that's certainly, obviously with Cameron Dance in P2, Aston Phipps in P1. Cameron Dance, a very experienced sim racer, and also someone that's done a lot of kart sport stuff. And he's just had a massive moment, young Aston Phipps. That's a big shame. I'd completely put the commentator's curse on him there, as he was doing such a good job. And he's rolled on the gas through the long right-hander. Tyres certainly up to temperature now, so maybe just got a bit excited. And that's a big shame for Aston. He was doing a really good job, I was about to say, as he was holding off a very experienced sim racer. So he's dropped down the order a little bit, but he's obviously still in that hunting pack in P7. So let's keep an eye on young Aston. He's obviously got good pace in that car, and no doubt we'll probably see him maybe get back up inside that top 4, all going well.
Yeah, I mean, still 10 laps to go. We've still got the whole, distance of race 1 to complete yet, and we're still involved in that. But this is a really neat battle pack here. Obviously got, from 6, we've got Isaac Fletcher at the front, Ashton Phipps, Zach Blinko, and we've got Paul Blomqvist there as well. So these guys are going straight at it. You probably, Paul Blomqvist here in the Muzz Minion is probably in a fantastic position. Didn't have the run that he would have liked, but he's the 4th car in a big train of a slipstream. So if he did get that exit right, he would have been in a really prime position to move heading into turn 1.
I tell you what, he's not mucking around, Paul. He's really just torn the ears off it as he's gone through the chicane to get up on top of the banking there. So Paul's certainly in full sprint mode tonight. Got some fairly average-looking race wheels on that car, but I can't say the signage is too bad, but I can't say the pink wheels. He hasn't sold me on that, but we'll let him run with that for tonight, and we'll let the fans decide if that is a chocolate fish winning livery on there. So I know which way it'll probably go, but we'll let the fans decide. Cameron Dance obviously still in the lead, just a little over 1.5 second margin there from Ben Stewart. Jaden Ransley P3, so Cameron Dance, Jaden Ransley are big movers at the moment. Sam Dunstan's there as well. Corey Green P5, he's moved back up slightly. So come on, Corey, get up there P3. You certainly deserve it. And it's only a 10-second margin. He's just trimmed that down a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on that. Isaac Fletcher, Aston Phipps there P7. Zach Blinko P8. And Paulie B rounding out the top 9 there, and Marco Giltrap in P10 there. So good race for Marco so far. Be good to see him certainly maintain and stay inside that top 10. Be well earned for the Auckland Rotex heavy driver out of the Josh Hart Racing stable there, Si.
Yeah, that's it. I tell you what, these boys are using all the circuit and more, aren't they? They're not afraid to go over the yellow lines, white line, up a bit of grass, do a bit of lawn mowing, are they? So they're all elbows out, and they're fighting for every position like it's that top spot. So great hard racing. I mean, this is a fantastic battle patch here. So 4 cars, as you see, they're starting to weave all over the circuit. But is this a change for the lead? Young Benny Stewart, and it looks like Cameron Dance. I'm not too sure. Did he tag him there? I wasn't. It looked like it could have been a bit of action, but as we cut to the motion simulation replay, this could be quite a defining moment of the race. Benny Stewart to the inside, but obviously not the ideal braking zone going into turn 1, as you do carry quite a bit of steering lock on, so it's car's not super stable. Cameron Dance carrying a lot of speed. Looks like just a little bit of inside front lock, ran a little bit wide, and just Cameron Dance was trying to do the cutback and Jim. So really unfortunate there for Pedro, is doing such a solid job. Be interesting to see how the stewards rule it. It was no intention in that. No malice in that at all. It's unfortunately one of those things, but I think Cameron Dance potentially could be copping a penalty for that one.
Yeah, we'll see what the race simulation can come up with as far as a penalty goes. We'll see what it decides. But as we said, just one of those moves. He's just run that that cut back a little bit fine and just tagged the back of them, as we see massive amount of action with Corey Green P4, the Aston Phipps entry there, and P5. So they've had a big moment into the chicane as well too, and dropped themselves back a little bit. The running order doesn't look like it's changed. They would have just obviously lost a fair amount of momentum.
Benny Stewart again. I saw the chrome. I've realised he's got chrome in the car. I've taken quite a liking.
Oh, that's right. So, and Corey Green's rolled out of that. Looks like he actually almost might have nearly had a problem, because Aston Phipps's car actually went by him reasonably quickly. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go along. And but certainly plenty of action up front. And we've got a motion simulation replay here. So into the chicane. Yep, as you said, you were right with the drivers that were involved. So that was Corey Green and young Ben Stewart there. So down in probably one of the fastest parts of the circuit. 2-1 doesn't really work, and they've got themselves hung up, Si.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But hey, the battle that we were on board here and now, this is going to be, I think, an absolute ripper of the battle right the way to the end of the race. We saw the speed of race, and he's got the race 1 winner, Jaden Ransley, who was dominant in that first race. But the speed was fairly even. He does have the fastest lap of the race, lap 5 with the 42.7. But I think, Cameron's going to be right on him. Hey, they might be able to pull away from Sam Dunstall, but like the first half of the race, there's been plenty of carnage, so he could be the beneficiary here if he just zone clean air. And we've got a fantastic battle here for P8, P9, Marco Giltrap out of Auckland, Dyson Freeman out of the South Island, 10th and 11th with Nathan Seduno, and our man of the past couple of laps, Ben Stewart. So he's tucking up into the draft here, trying to go around the outside. And then just behind them, we've got Cameron Freeman, Daniel Hardles. So we're definitely not missing out on any reaction. The drafting battles like the supercar racing that we see, all around the country on the big open circuits. So very strategic about where you want to make your move and where you want to be on the straight. But just gets crossed up there and lets through, was that Daniel Harvey. So there was Cameron Freeman there, slight mistake, but he's not giving up. He's attacking Zane Hills here, but just can't quite get it done. And Zane Hills had some very good speed in the last race. He must have been caught up on all that carnage that was lap 1, and he's making a back through the field now. But back with our leaders, as predicted, the gap is just plateaued 0.2 of a second. It'll be interesting to see what they do. You want to stay nice and tight to Jaden here, but you don't want to get the job done here. Still got 6 laps to go. So the other thing as well that probably if you're in Cameron Dance's positions is you don't want to show all your cards just yet. You want to be filling out where Jaden's probably weak, where he's strong on the circuit. But he probably doesn't want to show that you can get the job done here at turn 1. Otherwise, Jaden, he's a very clever racer. He'll lock that, so you can easily do little things to trick him. Roll up next to him, roll out the throttle, so he thinks if he leads, he's not going to get the job done. But heading back to our battle here with the pack, so flying around for the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, all the way back to Daniel Hill in 14th. So these guys are going to be all on for the rest of the race. Trevor, social media hub going there, mate. Anyone spotted any good liveries?
Oh, there's a big moment into turn one. Facebook's gone quiet there for a wee bit, but there's a few comments about is this Wreckfest or iRacing? Can definitely agree with that from race one. We've turned damage off, so still a Wreckfest, but there's just no damage. There's a few support for the Blinko boys, which is good to see, and I think that's about it.
TC, what'd you make of that?
It's certainly, I think, obviously, as you said, we've dialed that damage off, and it's just made for some pretty substantial accidents. But obviously, there's no risk involved as far as the damage goes. But obviously, it's going to hurt your position as well. So even though you don't wreck your car, you're still in actual race positions. So, but as you mentioned before, Size, we were following that leading group of Cameron Dance and Jaden Ransley. The laps are ticking down now, so 5 to run. It's going to be about time. Cameron needs to sort of start eyeing up a pass on Jaden. Not completely show his full deck of cards at the moment, but just eyeing up, as you said, where his weaknesses are, where his strengths are, without obviously pulling them back to the chasing car of Sam Dunstall. He's really shrunk that margin there, Sam, by the look of it. And this looks like it's going to be turn into a 3-car battle very shortly. Obviously, Cameron ran really wide. That turn one is really tricky. We can see it's catching a lot of people out. It can cause a lot of accidents because you can actually get in quite hot if you stay quite narrow and then actually end up running quite wide. And that's sort of how Benny Stewart and Cameron came together before. As we go through the long radius left-hander here at turn one, if you're the leading car, too narrow, you get in quite narrow and then end up running wide because you actually made the corner tighter than what it actually is. If you're the following car, you can get right outside the outside apron and turn the car in quite late and actually be 2/3 of the way around the corner before you actually get down to that apex. So it's a corner with two different styles that can be rewarding in both fashions. So as we jump on board Cameron Freeman here, so Cameron's had a reasonably uneventful race so far. Just been chipping away between him and Corey Green there in P7. Obviously, Corey coming together with Ben Stewart early on the race, so he's sort of fallen off that P5, P6 where he was, and it's quite a big margin for Corey to make up. So hopefully he can back up inside that top 6, be just deserved for his efforts. And as we have a chase cam of Isaac Fletcher here, through the chicane, up onto the embankment here in that Lego-inspired livery car this side.
Yeah, it's very cool, isn't it? When you look at all the different colours and red wheels. You don't often see red wheels on a Formula car, but you can do that. But back to our lead. These two sussing each other out. Jaden's been doing a lot of simulator racing over the past, few weeks. Been known to spin out in cold tyres, I reckon. But he's been in a lot of GT3 racing, had quite a few podiums. So it'll be hard to force him into a mistake. So Cameron, you know he's going to be really consistent. So he's going to have to make a pretty solid move. And I think with Jaden's racecraft, he needs to do it once and once only. And he could just reciprocate the move that he did in the previous race. But time will tell. Just under 3 laps remaining in this one, Tony. And once again, just want to have a big shout out to all our sponsors as well. This coverage is brought to you by Liquid Action. So big thanks to them for coming on board. Tony Hurst at Cook Strait Crossing, and obviously our KartSport New Zealand sponsors, the Giltrack Group, and all our service. Remember, if you're out there in the market, whether it's there's our virtual club days out here for your entertainment.
So as we obviously 3 laps to run here, you can see sort of Jaden's going reasonably defensive here now, side. And once again, are we going to fall back into that same problem where Cameron had quite a big margin off P2 and P3, but they started battling and he managed to pull them back. So we'll just sort of see how this pans out. Jaden's starting to run quite narrow, and we had the cam running out of the back of the diffuser on Jaden's car. You could see he was always that car length narrower on turning, and then obviously Cameron was a lot wider on turning, so certainly opening the corner up and getting a better run, but hasn't put a move on him yet. You can certainly see that difference, a much later apex, even Cameron missing the apex sometimes because Jaden is that much narrower. Certainly turning and braking at the same time, and Sam looks like he's pegging them back a little bit. Hopefully might get a little bit of aero wash off them and get pulled in behind them there, Si, and we'll see what happens when we've got about 2 laps to go here.
Yeah, 6/10 behind is a really good position to be in. He'll remember he got pipped for that second, and it'll be eating away at it a little bit. So he's going to sit here silent, a bad position. And like I was saying, Cameron really hasn't shown his cards here at all. He's just sitting by. So yeah, it's going to be a really, really interesting last lap. See if Cameron can get something done, or if Sam can come through. But moving back down the field, we've got Dyson Freeman and Cameron having a really good battle here. So 2 guys from the South Island, aren't they, Tony?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so obviously our South Island drivers, and they're reasonably experienced in the different formulas and karts and cars as well. Some of them have done as well too. So as we see this battle really starting to tighten up now, and our margins have literally shrunk to nothing. So these guys are literally one battle pack. We've got a little over 2 laps to go now, so Cameron's actually starting to go defensive now, and that actually might help the car of Jaden Ransley there. He might be able to pull a little bit of a gap as Cameron starts to look in the mirrors and defend from Sam Dunstall. They don't have to worry about P4. Aston Phipps has made a really good recovery as he dropped all the way back to 7th. He's back up into P4. But that's a 17-second margin, so it really just concerns this top 3 now. This is going to determine who is 1, 2, 3 on our podium for this evening's race. And Jaden looks like he's running mid-track, still being slightly defensive. So Cameron's in 2 minds. He's got to attack, but at the same time, he's got to watch what Sam's doing behind him. So I certainly wouldn't want to be in Cameron's position. I think Sam's certainly got he's got the ace card at the moment, doesn't he, Si?
Absolutely, mate. And I think, from halfway through the infield section of that, we're going to start to see what, they got these guys' hands. But between Ashton Phipps and Zach Blinko, Ashton's running the embankment, typical NASCAR fashion, and Zach's down on the lower. I think he's purely done that just to get in the draft. But we're on our final lap now. It's definitely not over. So three guys, all within half a second of each other. So it'll be interesting to see. Great move there by Sam Dunstall. Just as Cameron Dance slipped out, Sam was straight through the middle. But if they're not too careful, they might just, like we say, let Jaden get away, and they don't want to get that gap to over a second. Others going to lose deep on the brake. Goes Sam Dunstall as he fights for that position, but looks like they've done enough to just within their sights, heading onto the embankment for the final time.
Yeah, so ignoring the super speedway side of it, you would have thought that was back on a normal closed circuit there. They were battling away all through the tight stuff. Really clean racing by both of them. They could easily just run each other out of track, but they've both done a good job. But have they hurt themselves as far as a run up to our leader, Jaden Ransley, as we watch them come down that back straight for the final time, Simon?
Yeah, so very, very clever of Cameron there just to let Sam come in, and they're going to be all in here. So much momentum through the chicane, and then about here we're going to start seeing the cars just draft on up. But, Jaden's circuit has always been that chicane, but here they come, he'll be watching in the mirrors. He's got one eye on the finish line, one eye on his mirrors. He's starting to weave all over the circuit to see what Sam pulls out. What's it got to be? Cameron to the inside. He just missed it. Cameron just cut away, unfortunately. But it looks like Jaden's just got there on the timing by 0.01 of a second. So just got the job done with Cameron Dance only 0.8 of a 0.8 of a second behind. So 3 cars all within a tenth of a second at the finish is absolutely. Ashton Phipps got the job done over Zach Blinko. It looks like he may have had a bit of a mishap on the last lap because Isaac Fletcher snuck up in 5th. Zane Hills, great recovery to 6th. Zach Blinko 7th. Dyson Freeman in 8th. Cameron Freeman 9th. Corey Green, running out the top 10 there.
Yeah, certainly that's the finish that we were talking about there, wasn't it, Si? So a really good clean run by both of those guys as we see people starting to tear their race cars up at the after the finish line. But a fantastic effort by all those 3 to come across. 1 with a really tight finish, but 2 to obviously all come across together with no damage and a nice clean race. So as we jump on board our momentum replay here, I'm guessing this is going back for our P4. So Aston Phipps coming home. Really solid effort by the young Junior Max driver out of Auckland. Actually, remember, ran inside the top 3, was leading for a while, made a bit of a mistake, jumped all the way back to 7th, but managed to claw his way back up to 4th. So a really good drive there by Aston, and a good headstrong run, racing against some very experienced sim racers this evening as we cut away from our motor simulation replay there. So here's our top 10, as we said before. Jaden Ransley all the way off the back of the grid there into P1. Sam Dunstall P2. Cameron Dance P3. Aston Phipps P4. Isaac Fletcher. Zane Hills out of Auckland in P6. Dyson Freeman. Cameron Freeman, the South Island drivers. Daniel Harvey also were well presented by South Island drivers this evening. And Leo Scott there in P10 side.
Yep. Mitch Sparrow, so he had his got a simulator working for the first time last week. Great job to come home 11th this week. Zach Blinko unfortunately dropped down to 12th there on the official timing. Corey Green, Andrew Jackson, he was at start at the front of this race, but looks like he was one of the guys on that accident incidents at the start. Nathan Sedito, Marco Giltrap, Arthur Browan, Ollie Workman, great job, and Braden Snowden coming in 3 laps down. So obviously a few of those guys getting tied up with this instance on the first lap. Ben Stewart, obviously, well there, got tagged when he was in the lead. It's all sort of fell apart from there, but another great running from him, and it shows he's got great speed as well. Daniel Hall, 22nd. Paul Blomqvist, 23rd and 24th. Nathan Craig, ex Purley. Hayden Beckeris. Aaron Wilson, not the Knights that he was after, and Angus Klassen in 29th.
Yes, obviously a few people with some big margins off our leading group further down the back of the field, though certainly some names that you'd normally expect to see at the front. Obviously Ben Stewart being one of them, our birthday boy, but obviously that coming together with at the sort of start of the race there, that had hurt him, and then from then on in got caught up in a few accidents. So not the result Ben Stewart would have wanted on his birthday there, Simon, but nonetheless some really good action tonight, and good to be back at Daytona. And I think the F3 was a bit of a mixed bag for a few people. Some people adapted, some people didn't, but all in all a really good night's racing, Simon.
Yeah, I think obviously we saw quite a lot of those familiar names up towards the front there, but also a few new names starting to come up through, which is always great to see. A few new guys in the server. See that the Formula 3 car just suited their driving style there. But I think we do have a Sam Dunstall ready and almost hopefully ready to talk to us. Sam, pretty patient there for most of that race, and it looks like you're going to come through and take the spoils, but just missed out by a hundredth of a second there.
Yeah, that was right. It was real close in the end. Yeah, a bit of patience went a long way, and we ended up getting Dance in the last lap. So, yeah.
Yeah, pretty solid job. Was that your plan the whole way? Just sit behind those two, because you sort of were about a second and a half for most of the race, and then obviously those last couple of laps you sort of come up and. Did you think Jaden was in a good position leading on that last lap?
I think leading after that chicane, he was in a pretty good position. I was a little bit too far back. I was surprised with the run I did actually get, but yeah, the plan was sort of stick behind those guys. I was sort of hoping for some drama between them, to be honest. But that didn't happen, and kind of worked my way back in the last 2 laps, and yeah, and made something of it. So
Yeah, man. Hey, well, mate, pretty solid night. Obviously, a second and a third there, so you got to be happy with that. Obviously, the Formula 3 car worked well for you. Do you have any suggestions for the virtual club day crew for maybe a track and a car combination for next week? Because obviously you've been doing quite a bit.
I like racing the TCR car actually, and I know Jaden's done a bit of that as well as this in the ARG Cup. So that should be interesting. Maybe at Donington, the spiritual home of those touring cars, would be quite cool to see. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure whatever we do will be fun. So yeah.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. No, that's a fantastic suggestion. Obviously, you know, obviously, I know you can get Audi RS3s on that, and obviously that's one of the brands that the Giltrap Group sell. So, mate, good suggestion, and congratulations once again on a good night.
Yeah, thank you very much, and congrats to Jaden. So
yeah. And
Excellent.
Tony, do you want to do a quick chat there with Cameron Dance again?
Yeah, most definitely. Drag him on in. We can get Cameron's perspective on it. So Cameron, obviously starting off the back, as we mentioned, you were certainly the biggest mover at the start, and well ahead to Jaden in the first couple of laps. And pretty clean race, pretty uneventful for you boys up the front, apart from sort of coming together with Benny Stewart there at the start.
It's a pretty hectic start. Managed to weave my way through all the carnage and folded on the start finish line somehow. But yeah, unfortunately had a moment with Ben early on at turn 1, and fortunately that was kind of my own fault. Just missed my braking point, but nevertheless it was really a good fun race up for the front with Jaden and Sam. So yeah.
Yeah, no, good job, mate. Sort of, you've been one of the names that's been popping up every evening along with Jaden, and obviously no Ryan Wood tonight for whatever reason, but you've sort of been one of the familiar names that we've been seeing every night, and it's always a pleasure to watch someone with some experience, and you can sort of just see how well gelled you are with it, and how smooth you drive the car. So congratulations, a couple of podiums for this evening, and no doubt we'll be putting out a bit of a poll this week, and to see what we'll be driving next week and whereabouts. You've driven plenty of cars, plenty of different circuits. What do you think would be a good change for next week there, Cameron?
Very good question. There's actually quite a few different cars that I wouldn't mind driving, and I think would actually provide some pretty good racing. But yeah, that's almost a hard question to answer because of the variation in tracks and cars that there possibly are. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but there's probably going to be a few out there that are going to put on some really good racing that we can hopefully have a bit of a run in.
Yeah, for sure. As Sam just said before, whatever we're driving, it's going to be lots of fun, and we look forward to seeing you in whatever car and whatever track that may be next week, mate. Well done. Thanks for coming along again tonight. Good job.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Excellent. And I think we're just going to drag in Zane as well too, just to have a quick catch up with him and see how his perspective on the race went tonight. So Zane, good job tonight, mate. Well done. And how do you think that reverse grid race went?
Yeah, quite interesting. There was a huge crash at the start, which I got caught up in. I tried to avoid it, but yeah, couldn't quite avoid it. I think I had a good race as well, which going from reverse grid, which is interesting. I think we should have just run our grids from the race before, just because there was so many crashes. And I I had a good recovery from, I think we started 24th and got 6th in the end, which I'm quite happy about.
Yeah, no, good job. It's certainly, from our 20-minute qualifying session this evening, you've sort of been there or thereabouts. So certainly good to see you up there, and no doubt we'll have a bit of a poll this week, sort of what vehicle and what location we'll be running next week, but sort of have complete faith that we'll probably see you dancing around inside that top 10, that top 6, and once it's all announced, you'll probably get out there and do plenty of testing before next Tuesday night, no doubt.
I'll be doing plenty of testing, and I'll definitely be back next week.
Excellent, mate. So, no, well done, mate. Good to have you back, and we'll see you next week. Good job, buddy.
Cheers.
Excellent. So I think that just about wraps up this evening's events there, team. What do you reckon there, Si? I think the Formula 3 and Daytona went down reasonably well with most people, and we'll see sort of what people look at running next week there, Simon.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. I didn't think we'd have two, back-to-back, double race winners essentially of this week and this week, the reverse grid race 1 winner coming back through again. But we did. But another fantastic showcase of running. Plenty of race car craft learned for the young guys, and I'm sure they'll be video backed and their own, on boards just to see where they can go better. And hopefully we can throw in next week another kit and track for the circuit and car for them. So we'll probably run another poll on the page. And then, so even if you're watching, jump on the KartSport page, vote when you see it come up, vote for a race formats. Hey, because at the end of the day, it's all about you guys. Obviously through these, tough times, try and provide some entertainment that you guys are after. Obviously, it's a big thanks to all our sponsors again. Obviously, the coverage was Liquid Action. Tony Hurst at Cook Strait Crossing. Obviously, if you're going from North Island to South Island, he's your man to talk to. And obviously, our KartSport New Zealand sponsors, Giltrap Group and Carter's Tony's. Carter's Tony. I'll leave that one. Carter's Tyre Service. Sorry, Tony. It's been a long day, mate. But I'll leave final word with you.
Yeah, no dramas, most definitely. Yeah, thanks to our partners. We wouldn't be able to do these without our sponsors, certainly Liquid Action and Cook Strait Crossings, and then our usual partners, Giltrap Group and Carter's Tyres, as Simon said. Obviously, we've had our chocolate fish to give away. Obviously, our one to our winner, one to our biggest mover, best Facebook comments, and the best livery. So we'll announce all those. Obviously, we know who our winner was and obviously who our biggest movers are, but we'll announce all those on our Facebook page. And so keep an eye on that, and we'll endeavour to get those out to everyone, and go from there. But another great night of action-packed racing here from Daytona and the Formula 3. Keep an eye on the Facebook pages, and we'll be, as Simon said, be putting a poll out. Suss out what we're going to do next Tuesday night, and come back for some more action-packed racing, but more importantly, a heap of fun until we get back on the tracks. Hopefully sort of mid to late June. So keep it locked. Thanks again for obviously all the viewers out there, everyone on Facebook Live and the various feeds, and we'll see you all again next Tuesday evening. Thanks very much, team. See you soon.
Now, Rayon Fowler into the outside wall.
He's going to pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's going to get them all done with. What amazing!
Lee to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is going to touch in. Pit press sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside, and Tronke goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I trying this contact though. Slide left of the racetrack. Chris Leonard drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact. He's going to try and make the move around the upset the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cutback here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Makashube, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my God! Oh, big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?